begin our story in the League of Villains hideout, as Bakugo and Todoroki would both be having their restraints taken off of them, and Bakugo could finally see everything that's going on around him. Bakugo quickly goes on to say, "The hell's going on here? What are you doing here? Why am I tied up? I'm gonna kill you when I get out of this, you know." As Todoroki, to the left of him, would kind of just be silent, looking towards the direction of one particular character in the room, Dabi. It would be in this moment that Todoroki and Bakugo would begin to have a conversation with Shigaraki, and as to the conversation, I can see it going down something like this. "Hey, you, the one with the blonde hair, I've seen your potential. You seem very powerful, but it seems to me like you're always 2 steps behind that kid over there." As he would go on to point towards the screen, showing an image of Izuku Midoriya, as Bakugo from this moment would say, "Shut up, you don't know anything about me or that damn nerd." As from here, Shigaraki would go on to say, "I know you want to get stronger, I know you want to beat him, and I can help you do that. Or more specifically, I know someone who can." As Bakugo, after hearing that, would say, "And so what? What if I said yes to your offer? Are you proposing that I become some washed up villain like you, just to beat that loser? Over my dead body." As from here, Todoroki would go on to beat, sorry, my bad. As from here, Shigaraki would go on to get right in front of Bakugo and almost place his hands on his face for disrespecting him. But before he could do that, All For One through the TV would say, "Let me talk to him." And so Bakugo would be taken to a different room by Kurogiri, where he would appear directly in front of All For One. As in this moment, we would jump cut right back to Todoroki, who would pretty much just have the League of Villains talking to him, and would eventually end up with the reveal of Toya Todoroki being Dabi himself, of Dabi being Todoroki. I completely botched that, but you know what I mean. It pretty much ends up culminating in this really cool zoom in pan motion kind of scene where Todoroki's eyes just go super wide and Dabi's just looking at him. I can just imagine the screen going black and then a commercial break, you know, OG 2000 style. But regardless, the screen would come back on and Todoroki would be sitting there like, "That's not true," until finally Dabi reveals that it is him and that they can get back at Dad. Remember, at this point in the story, Izuku did not care one bit about Todoroki. He wasn't sitting there going, "It's your quirk, not his." So this pretty much means that Todoroki's still on that like I hate my dad timing, daddy issues timing, you know? So this would have led Todoroki to low-key being a bit manipulated by his brother Dabi. And after he would tell him his plans to basically get back at Endeavor, this would leave a very vulnerable Todoroki in this point of time to actually end up joining the League of Villains. As from here, he would go on to be released from his shackles, and he would go on to talk with Dabi about everything that went down, with Dabi explaining that the day that he supposedly died, he really almost did. But when he woke up, he was with the doctor who patched him up. Honestly, y'all, I kind of forgot what Dabi's full on backstory thing happened, so I'm not going to go too much into detail in case I butcher it, but the point is Todoroki joins the League of Villains. And now we jump right back towards the perspective of Bakugo, who at this moment is just standing and looking right at the direction of All For One, who would just slowly begin to walk over towards him, placing his hand on his head as a red glow would come off of his hand, and Bakugo in this moment would feel power coursing through his veins like he never has before. As Bakugo in this moment could feel his body beginning to heat up and a bunch of sweat to start coursing through his veins, as Bakugo's body starts to turn sort of red in some spots. And the best thing that I can compare it to is if you guys have seen the Iron Man 2 to 3 movie, the villain at the end of it who could get really hot and destroy the Iron Man suit, something like that would happen. Now the reason that I'm giving Bakugo this quirk is because A, it will not only give him the ability to launch more powerful explosions, but now with this ability in hand, he's going to be able to do something to Izuku's sand, which is going to impact their battle a lot more than you would expect. He's going to be able to completely crystallize it, in a sense that he's going to be able to almost negate Izuku's sand attacks, at least some of them. And this would lead Bakugo to pretty much turning towards All For One and telling him that whatever it is he needs, he's in. As All For One would smile and say, "Good. Now let me show you to your new room. Bakugo from here would make his way there, and so we would now get a scene of Bakugo just kind of sitting there with a smirk, with him thinking to himself, he has no idea what he just did. As from here, we would pretty much just cut back towards the direction of the heroes, who at this moment are all wondering how they're going to recover Bakugo and Todoroki. And so the plan that they would have ended up forming in the original would still go down much like you guys would actually expect, which means that All Might and the rest of the heroes would still end up arriving at the League of Villains location, where they not only end up finding Shigaraki, Dabi, Spinner, I believe Twice was there, and Toga and stuff like that, but they also see that Todoroki's there, and he has a whole new look. His hero outfit was replaced by a villain outfit because Todoroki was 100% in on this. So this would mean that as all the heroes are lunging in trying to capture them, Todoroki's Ice Quirk would shoot out a glacier at them, as All Might, being the only one capable of countering this, throws a massive punch that would shatter it completely, as Todoroki and Dabi would shoot flame attacks right towards the direction of All Might, who in this moment would get charred by them, being sent flying as All Might gets right back up, only to see an ice attack coming right at him. It would be in this moment that the rest of the heroes, seeing that ice attack is actually being shot at the direction of All Might, would think that there's some other villain they didn't know about. And so they would rush back in as a massive fight would ensue, where ultimately the villains end up being apprehended. This would have meant that Endeavor would have arrived, and let's say even Mirko was there this time, right? Because in the original she wasn't, but let's just add her because they're kind of going to need a bit extra more firepower, because these villains were just not going down, at least not Dabi and Todoroki. But when they finally did, Dabi and Todoroki would be right next to each other, and Endeavor, arriving right there, would ask Todoroki what the heck he thinks he's doing. That to this point, this is the worst case of a childhood rebellion that he's done this entire time. And Todoroki would look at him, telling him this isn't rebellion. He's trying to ruin him just like he ruined him. As Endeavor would be like, the heck are you talking about, boy? And Todoroki would say, just gas Toya over there. As from here, Endeavor's eyes would widen as he could see the look on Dabi's face, as he would say, hey Pops, been a while. As Endeavor, being completely shocked by this revelation, would just crumble. As all this would be happening and the shock of this news would finally hit them, All For One would end up teleporting all of them out of that situation, as we would now have All For One standing in front of all of these heroes, as a couple of Nomus would actually come out through these portals, and the Nomus would actually keep all the heroes distracted, all but All Might, as the battle between All Might would begin. And this battle would go down just like you would expect in the original. I mean, the clash back and forth, All Might saving a woman from a collapsing building, all of that goes just like you will expect. The change comes when All Might finally stopping to tell him about Shigaraki and telling him that he's really Shimura, I don't know, bro, I be forgetting the names, okay? It's been a while since I've seen this fight. But the point is, that goes down just like in the original, until finally he would pretty much like end up creating a portal which would summon Katsuki Bakugo, and All Might would say, you think you're gonna hold him hostage in the middle of this fight and that's gonna make you think you can beat me by holding my student hostage? As from here, All For One would say, I'm not holding him hostage. He's here on his own free will. And suddenly, Bakugo shoots towards the direction of All Might, throwing an explosion square to his face, as Bakugo would smirk before saying, that's payback for last time, old man. As suddenly, All Might being sent flying and Izuku tuning into everything that's going on in the news, realizing that the heroes are literally in trouble right now, quickly jumping out of his bedroom window, would jump onto sand that's floating in the air as he would quickly fly towards the direction where the battle's currently taking place. Izuku would end up arriving as fast as possible by realizing that this sand is moving too slow. So he would create gigantic wings, like a gigantic wings on his back. Why did I just stutter to say that? I don't know. But anyway, gigantic wings on his back, making himself look like a Nephilim, right? As he flies towards the direction of where the battle's taking place, looking more like hawks, actually. That's probably a better example. But yeah, looking more like hawks, as he would finally touch down onto the ground, and Bakugo would have a evil smile saying, finally the guy I wanted to see. As, you know, All For One would go on a nod at Bakugo, telling him that he can take him out and he'll take the symbol of peace out. As we would have a 1v1 v1 battle, you know what I mean? Well, technically a 2v2, right? But, you know, they're not exactly working together or synchronizing or anything. Bakugo would turn towards the direction of Izuku, telling him that finally they're gonna even out the score. As Izuku would say, he doesn't have time for this. All Might right now is about to be killed in front of them if he doesn't help out. As he would go on to say that he's not an idiot and that he knows he needs to help. As from here, Bakugo would start heating up. His body would start changing color, and Izuku seeing this would be like, what the? As this would be kind of like a Majin Vegeta type scene where he turned evil, you know what I mean? But with this all happening, Izuku turning towards Bakugo would be like, what have you done? As Izuku would put up a barrier to block this explosion, but it would turn to glass before a smaller explosion would come in, destroying it completely. And Izuku would say, are you serious right now? You'd rather fight over this petty little squabble than to help out the person that you've admired ever since you were a kid? He's our teacher, damn it. How can you be thinking about this? But Bakugo would say, shut up. You don't know what it's like. As from here, he would shoot off towards the direction of Izuku, blasting an explosion, as Izuku would guard against it by using a sand shield, and he would throw explosion after explosion after explosion, as Izuku would create about 20 sand clones of himself, which would all rush towards the direction of Bakugo, but they would be completely destroyed, as Bakugo would begin smirking and saying now they're even. But Izuku would say he cannot play with him anymore. He can't just sit here and have all these games go down while the symbol of peace is literally out there dying. And so Izuku would proceed to just say, I'm sorry, Bakugo. As suddenly, he would lift up both of his hands into the air, as all the sand in the area would rise up like 100 feet, higher than any buildings that you could see, as all that sand would rise up, and Bakugo would say, give me your worst, as he would charge up the biggest explosion in the My Hero Academia verse, and Izuku's sand tsunami would rush at Bakugo, just trying to crush him, as Bakugo throws the explosion, basically trying his best to stop this from happening, but it just completely sucks him into it, as the sand would pretty much drag Bakugo to the top, as Izuku would say he's sorry he had to do that. And from here, he would turn towards All For One's direction, as he would turn into a Shukaku state. His arm would change, as it would look much more like Gaara, and half of his face would turn into Shukaku. From here, Izuku would think to himself that he takes care of this guy, the villain problem will probably go down significantly, as Izuku would rush All For One with an attack, and he would scratch at him. All For One would have even tried to use a barrier quirk, but he would have shattered right through it, because the strength that he was exerting right now was just overwhelming him. And now he had to face off against Shukaku amped Izuku and All Might, who eventually, with the help of Izuku, was able to land his Texas Smash, as Izuku would begin covering All For One up with sand, you know, about to finish off the job, as suddenly, because Izuku had his guard down and Bakugo was over there unconscious, Bakugo began to get up, with his body heating up completely, as he would shoot straight towards the direction of Izuku before yelling out, "Get out of the way!" And Izuku, barely realizing that this was coming, would move out of the way, as Bakugo would blast an explosion square to the face of All For One, sending his, basically blowing up his head. As from here, Bakugo would land in front of them and say that bastard's finally dead. As Izuku, turning to Bakugo, would say, "So you finally got your head out of the clouds, huh, Katsuki?" As from here, Bakugo would say, "Shut up. I had to bide my time. What the heck was I supposed to do? Refuse a quirk that's gonna make me stronger? Not a chance." As from here, Izuku goes on to ask him when the heck he came up with that idea, and Bakugo said that he would never become a villain, but he wouldn't have minded killing him in all honesty. As from here, Izuku would say, "Why am I not surprised?" And he would just hear Shukaku in the background going, "Looks like that guy's not all bad. Guess I was wrong when I wanted you to kill him right now." As from here, Izuku would say, "You know what, Shukaku, you can go ahead and shut up now. You already helped me out during this battle, and as far as I'm concerned, this guy's dead." As from here, earlier, you know, the choppers would land and they would go on a checkup on All Might, who this time doesn't actually have to retire, but like, and let everyone see that All Might wasn't as strong as he, you know, like he appears to be. And so, you know, Deku and Bakugo would both go on the news, as it would become common knowledge that Bakugo killed this hero. Eventually the news media outlets would be like, should he be allowed to continue being a hero? He killed a villain. And you know, like a bunch of people are like, yes, he should. Like, this dude's a real hero. He took care of the problem. You know what I mean? Saying that that's the problem with hero society. And for the next week, we would just have that kind of whole trope going on. But ladies and gentlemen, that is where What If Izuku was Gaara's reincarnation is going to be ending. I know that I'm not covering the overhaul situation, and I'm definitely not covering the rest of the League of Villains that got away, because, bro, let's keep it a buck. Izuku is way too strong for them, all right? Now, this part is going to be released as a part, and if you guys break, I don't know, let's say 2,000 likes on this video, which is just highly improbable, then I'll drop a bonus part covering those events, or maybe say the movie of this version, like you guys are watching this in the movie version, and this does like extremely well, breaking like 3K likes, I'll drop a bonus part for you guys to check it out, you know? But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Xehther, and I am out. Peace.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Like it or die! That wasn't the line, Kachan. Whatever.